Legendary.
Hey guys, got a VOD from Aaliya on Nepal with a full 6 stack of us. Little disclaimer, Aaliya drops quite a bit of frames in the heat of battle, so it may be kind of tough to track what's going on. I'll do a little bit of extra narrating if I can, but I'm going to talk a lot about the map structure as well as our team comps. Just talk a little bit about the comps. The enemy team is running dive tank line with Tracer Soldier. Tracer is going to do a good job of synergizing with the dive tanks because she can dive as well. Soldier is going to utilize his high mobility to get a positional advantage and use his long range to assist with the dive targets. This is all ideally, of course. So this pre-patch on a Mercy, no synergy between the two, but they do have a lot of healing output. One major issue with this dive comp here is that they have no counter for the grab. But they are running, overall, a pretty divey comp. Down below, we have a Deathball comp with one outlier, and that's me. The only reason I'm playing Genji is because I really enjoy playing Genji on Village, because I abuse the high ground a lot and I get a lot of reflect damage through the chokes. Overall though, we're playing a Deathball comp with no barrier, but Zarya Roadhog do synergize well if we play the low ground. So, because I mentioned that, I want to talk a little bit about Village. Village is probably the most strategic stage on Nepal in my opinion. And I'll explain why. Because we've seen almost any comp work here, and most people don't understand why. And that is because the nature of the point and the area surrounding the point. So, if you are running a Deathball comp, and you take the point, you must hold on the point and utilize these enclosed spaces to narrow the fight for the enemy dive or the enemy Deathball, whatever it is. These two openings hamstring any dive from getting a positional advantage on you, and you can be ready for them every time. If you're running Deathball defense and you go up to the high ground, up on the bridge, up on the platform, and above the point, and the enemy is running dive, you're inviting them to hop on you, and you have no cover, which is significantly worse than holding the point. If you are running dive defense instead of Deathball defense, it is optimal to hold the high ground, because if you're defending as dive on the point, what are you going to do when the enemy team moves in? You're not going to be able to do anything. You have no room to work with. You can't counter dive. However, you can counter dive if you're on the high ground. So that's an important distinction to make, and that's an important thing to assess at the beginning of the round. Hope that makes sense. I'll back it up a little. It's always good to start the high ground. Usually the fights begin here. You're not rendering it to the enemy team. Get a good feel for each other with no real advantage. Killing mech at the beginning of these fights is always a good choice, I feel, especially when you have Zarya Hog. It's pretty easy to just burn mech. You get a shitload of ult charge, and their sustain falls off significantly. That's what a lot of pro teams will do.
Go to point.
Soldiers on
Nice, good job. I can't remember who it was. I think it was Lunatic High versus Rogue. But Lunatic High famously came up with a strategy during the height of the dive meta to abuse and make the D.Va player hate its life. There's a lot of advantages to that. You take the mech out of the fight every time and they're significantly hamstringed. They lose their sustain, the dive tank doesn't have a partner, and the fight goes to shit pretty fast. So getting D.Va mech is actually pretty legit strategy. See how well this positioning works though? Colty just holds the front, he grabs hooks, while Aaliya just bubbles, and they can't do shit about it. They have no counter to the grab, and we're just farming them. That's why Deathball works on this low ground hold.
Oh, thanks.
So where are they going? Get ready to back up the point.
See, they're on high ground, which is fine, as long as we are on point, communicating, and prepared.
Tracer's on me.
2 behind, or above.
She's
They're all
above.
dropping. Winston low, Winston dead. Tracer.
Soldier's behind.
Mercy's ulting.
Whenever you have 40-50 plus energy, it's always good to shoot the ult take Mercy, which, as you saw, he did a very good job to do it.
Tracer's behind still.
I'm almost there.
Zarya is all about energy. To play a high impact Zarya, it's all about building energy and maintaining energy. The best high impact Zaryas are the best at building and maintaining energy. You will build your grav exponentially quicker. You will have a higher impact in every team fight, as long as you keep that energy up. And Aaliya does a pretty good job of that throughout this stage. And you can tell because he's just doing shitloads of damage.
Whoa.
Getting 2 grabs in a stage of King of the Hill is always good. That means he did work. Some Zarya players can't even get 1 grab
Here's intentional.
in this stage, so. Alright, good old downtime.
Set up the shield.
This is Sanctum, we're running Orisa. I'm running Genji just to move across the pit. I believe I switched to McCree almost immediately. Orisa is really good here because you can bop people into the pit. And you can use the shield to cut off a lot of angles. The problem is the Junkrat broke our positioning almost right away.
He's asleep. Oh, we're okay.
The Tracer did a good job of creating space. The trick to Sanctum is it's all about the choke points. So Junkrat's really good here. You'll see a lot of teams will switch up their comp entirely just for this stage, which is a good thing to do. One thing I want to get in the habit of doing is I'm going to start playing Junkrat on stages like this. You'll notice that I do it on Lijiang Control Center for the same reason. Just a high impact character for the layout of the map. One thing that's good for breaking this kind of defense, the Junkrat spam defense, is running D.Va Zarya. Even though the defense matrix is nerfed, you still get 2 seconds of unlimited invulnerability when it comes to Junkrat spam. You can use that 2 seconds to get your team in the other choke, and use the Zarya bubbles to assist as well as build energy.
This is dead, push on.
Ryan can be good, but typically what you want to do is use that few seconds of shield time to get your team in the other choke.
Let's go, let's go. Alright, cool point.
That was a good shatter. Definitely carried that fight for us.
Tracer's on me.
It's good to hold back when you have hit scan here. Use the pit as your divide between you and the enemy team. We don't really have like a choke comp. Again, I wish I had just gone Junkrat. But we have double hit scans, so it's good to hold back a bit so we can get advantage on them as they come in and hopefully get a couple picks. Aaliya has to hold the shield here, even though he's getting poked in the back. He's doing his job though, he's fulfilling his role as a main tank player, which a lot of people miss.
Alright.
Tracer low, no recall.
So we get fucked by the Winston ult.
Reset.
He gets 2 really good boops. And then Junkrat gets Mercy, and then, yeah, that's over. Phone won't set. No win. So this is where like D.Va Zarya would be good. Just hold that matrix up, speed boost in the left, and then we take a fight near the point. Aaliya goes super aggressive, which is cool. Definitely save Zarya bubbles for that. It's hard to tell what cult he's using his bubbles on, just because the FPS drops and shit. But just saying that for the sake of saying it. So they very clearly win that map. Their Winston and their Junkrat carried pretty hard. We definitely need to work more on adapting to stages like that, because there are a lot of stages like that in King of the Hill maps. I think it's something we're all a little weak on, even myself. Shrine is really good for dive. It's also good for Rhine comps, because the barrier fits well within the geometry of the point. But there's also enough space and enough openings and enough aerial that dive works really well.
Tracer's dead.
Hog's low. He just uses Z.
So they're running Pharmacy now. Pharmacy's good on
Mercy's super low.
Shrine.
Can I get Mercy?
For reasons I mentioned, the point has a lot of openings, there's a lot of advantages and sightlines for Pharah to utilize.
Tracer's on me.
We do a good job of isolating. Aaliya's kind of just going ham. Terrapin gets a couple picks at the beginning of the fight and just kind of slowly wears him down.
McCree, I know.
McCree with the new ability to res other players.
This is probably the least strategic stage in my opinion. You just kind of hold the point.
Arrows up high.
The point has a lot of level ground. It's kind of like a plateau. You just have to be conscientious of if they're going upper right or lower right. Other than that, you just kind of react and counter dive. He's doing a good job of blocking out the Mercy. He gets really unlucky. Gets the favor of the shooter. Fucking shit there. Can't use his Q, but at least he gets it back.
Fucking Winston's.
Cool T grabs. I think we get a couple. Mercy's dead. Pretty evenly split now. It's a good ult by Aaliya. He's stalling the point. Even if we lose, this is good to do because we're getting extra points on the board. I noticed Aaliya tried to do this, but just a general rule for Winston play is whenever Pharah does that, jump in her face and she'll kill herself before she kills you. And looking at Aaliya's screen, you could tell he tried to do that, but he died. So Aaliya makes the call to go left, which is smart. We can close the gap quicker. They instantly res the McCree, and he pulls a nice Deadeye right here.
McCree's ulti.
I don't know.
Oh.
Hit me. That was so stupid.
I'm resetting.
This is both defensive ults.
Apparently he could see me through a crack in the statue.
Hmm.
So we're gonna go left again and do the dive. They're not gonna have Deadeye. So he gets hooked and almost shot. I want to show you something that I do for Aaliya and tourists a lot, even though they probably don't notice it. So watch me here. We dive in at the same time. I watch him get hooked. It's so pixelated, but you can see right here I dashed in and reflected right as the Roadhog pulled the trigger, and I reflected it right at him. I'm only mentioning this for aspiring Genji players. Once you have that dash distance down and you always know how far you're gonna go, you can use dash to close the gap on a hook right into a Roadhog's face and save your teammate. It's a really good thing to do with your dive buddy, because you can save your dive buddy a lot by doing that. So the Roadhog just shoots himself and turns around.
Mercy's dead, you guys can win. Lucio? Lucio's down.
And we slowly just kind of wear them down. They're stalling out for points, but we just need to kill the 2 tanks and the fight's over.
Smoke these guys. Alright, there we go. 3 main. Bear's low. Nice.
As you can see, there's not much to talk about on this stage because there's not a lot of strategy. It's just
Upper right, upper right.
It's just a death match basically. Team fight after team fight.
Bear might have ult.
It's a good ult. He's creating space for us while there's only a couple seconds left in the game. And he gets a pick on Pharah. It's a really good usage of Primal. And now we just clean up.
Good ult.
So yeah, we won that shit. Good job, guys. Yeah, overall we played well. We just needed to adapt to Shrine or Sanctum. I keep mixing those two up. Sanctum's really good map to just switch it up, play those chokes, and then once that's over, play the game you were playing before. But I think that's definitely something we need to work on. As far as Aaliya goes, like, I didn't have much to say about his tank play. Everyone knows he's a great tank player. Yeah, I mean, I would like to do more Aaliya VODs where it's not like super laggy. But overall, you had a really good game, Aaliya. I think we all had a decent game. But keep sending the VODs. Hope you guys learned a bit about Nepal. That was the goal of this. I wanted to talk about a King of the Hill match. So there we have it. Thanks for watching.